don't know what I'm trying to achieve with this. Anyway, we'll be talking about apples. G'day guys, how's it going? Welcome back to Sam's Home Kitchen, where I bring to you budget-friendly recipes with sustainability in mind. This week we're going to be talking about apples. Every second week in my house, in the fruit basket or in the fridge, I'll just see random apples popping up. That is because my partner loves apples. She loves buying apples, she loves having apples, but she's really particular about it and she's really bad at finishing them. So I want to take the opportunity and make some apple recipes and kind of venture into the dessert side of things that I don't really do a whole lot. So we're going to be turning apples into apple tarts. I made a couple of times in the past. They are absolutely delicious, really easy to make, and you can make a bunch of those. Take them to parties, especially with Christmas coming up. This is going to be your best friend. It's super cheap to make and you can't fault it. Alright, that is all I gotta say, and let's get cooking. So today's apple tart is a bit of an experiment. The recipe is kind of inspired by the past few recipes of spring onion pancakes and so on. So I hope you enjoy it. First of all, we need some plain flour to make our tart, and obviously can't do that without water. To keep things vegan friendly and cheap, we're not going to use butter or vegan butter, which is XE, but just some cheap or neutral oil. If you already have some puff pastry hanging around at home, you can just use that instead. Next, we'll need some sugar, some salt to season as well to balance it out. Last but not the least, an apple, and that is all we need. We're starting with our pastry. Like I said earlier, if you already have some frozen pastry handy, feel free to skip this part and go to the time on the screen right here. And let's get cooking. Grab our scale and we want to measure out about 50 grams of water for our dough. And then a pinch of salt, that is roughly 2 grams. Give it a stir to dissolve it in water. Salting dough will help build out some strength and help create the layers we want. Next, pour in 100 grams of flour to make it a 50% hydration dough. Optionally, add in a pinch of bicarb and a splash of vinegar to make the dough a little bit lighter. Since our tart is going to be more like a disc to carry apple slices, it's very much just optional and not necessary. Now all the ingredients are in, we'll mix it all up to form our dough tart. Now you must be starting to wonder, where's the yeast and how we're going to deal with the butter situation? Sam must be a bloody donkey and he does not know what he's doing. Keep watching and I will try not to disappoint. Once the dough has roughly come together, dump it onto our workbench and knead it until it's all combined. Doesn't have to be super smooth yet. Knead until your arm is sore or just until you're bored, whichever comes first. Covering dough with your mixing bowl. I have said it before and I will say it again. When cooking at home, covering your food with lids, bowls, or just chuck them in containers instead of using plastic wraps is a much more sustainable way to cook with less waste generated. After resting the dough for 15 to 20 minutes, we come back to it and knead for a couple more minutes until smooth. Next, grab a rolling pin and we want to start rolling the dough out to spread it thinner. First, dust the dough so it won't stick to our rolling pin. Dust a rolling pin as well for good measures. And we'll get rolling.
What you know about rolling down in the deep?
I find a downwards pressing motion usually works better when the dough is a little bit thicker. Rolling tends to build up more elasticity in the dough and takes more effort to roll out. Next step, we're going to be really controversial and use a non-conventional tool to help us with our pastry layers. If you paid enough attention at the intro B-rolls, you would have guessed it. That's right, we're using a pasta roller to help achieve consistently thin layers of pastry. Start with number 1. Feed the dough through as we work the numbers up. Repeat the process and roll until we get to number 5. It's a thickness that is kind of almost translucent. Cut our rollout dough in half. Tighten it up a bit. I apologize if the next few minutes is a bit hard to see. I forgot to hit record on my B-roll camera, but hopefully you'll still get the gist of it. Instead of using butter, we're going to make some yosu to go in between the layers of our pastry. Here we want equal part flour and oil, so we do 50 grams each. Combine it all until we get a paste-like kind of texture. Once that is all done, we want to spread half of it on one half of the sheet of the pastry. Spread it out evenly, and we want to grab the other half of the pastry and stack on top of it. Next, spread the rest of your yosu on top of the layer again. The pastry is a bit long, so I cut it in half and stack it again. And then, fold it in half, and that will give us 16 layers of pastries.
Not bad, not bad.
I once again grabbed the rolling pin just to even out the pastry a bit. With the surface area we got with the pastry here, it's about enough to give us 2 discs. If you got a pastry mold, use your mold. I just use a bowl because it's multi-purpose. Press the rim of the bowl against the pastry and cut a good circle out of it. Peel the dough around it off, and it's that simple. Put the 2 discs aside for now while we get our apple sorted. Grab the bowl we used earlier, get our apple, and we want to decor it. I don't have a decorer kind of thing, so a paring knife will do the trick. Stab it right through the middle of the apple, and we want to get the seeds and the core out. Don't forget to compost the food waste. There's so many benefits of not throwing food in the bin. My bin literally never smells ever since I started composting. Grab a mandolin, and we want to thinly slice our apple. If you don't have a mandolin, cutting it very thinly will do just the same. All it takes is a little bit of knife skill and a whole lot of patience. It's finally assembly time. Grab a baking tray, put the pastry discs in, and then we stack our apple slices right on top of our pastry. Due to the size of our pastry discs, I ended up snapping the apple slices in half and just fan it out to decorate like a flower or like a sun kind of pattern. Leave a comment down below and tell me how you would describe it. Next step, a light drizzle of oil on the apple slices to help it cook in the oven. Sprinkle a healthy amount of sugar on top, and then we want to send our tart into a preheated oven at 180 degrees Celsius for about 20 minutes. When the time is up, the apple should be soft and slightly caramelized, and the pastry all cooked through on the bottom as well. I sprinkle some more sugar on top and blowtorch it to melt it to get some extra oomph. And that is our vegan apple tart done here. The cost breakdown is as below. 100 grams of flour at $1.10 a kilo equals to 11 cents. One apple, let's say about $1. 50 grams of sugar at $1.10 a kilo equals to 5.5 cents. 70 grams of neutral oil at 35 cents per kilo equals to 24.5 cents. Altogether, one tart costed us 76 cents to make. Alright, and there we have it. That is our vegan homemade apple tart all done right here. Everything made from scratch apart from obviously growing the apple. I'm going to dig in and just let you know how it tastes like. Get closer. I'll tell you what, this is one of the most successful pastry that I've made. The pasta roller really helped us get the dough super thin, and with the layers of yosu that we learned from the scallion pancake recipe, it really makes it super flaky compared to the traditional pastry that obviously lacks a buttery flavor, and that is just flavor side of thing. But in terms of texture, in terms of the crunchiness, this is pretty incredible. I'm really happy with it. Alright, that is all I got for you. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you learned something and give this vegan pastry a try. It's super simple if you do have a pasta roller hanging around, and make your own pastry. It's super fun. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you in the next video.